Hi folks, Steve Nixon here at LogicFX Trading, and welcome to our building blocks series where we're learning Elliott wave theory as a prelude to the competent trader training and mentoring programs. Now in this video we'll be looking at corrective waves, of which there are three types: zigzags, flats and triangles. But the story doesn't end there, because each type has more than one variation, and simple corrections can combine to form more complex structures. Now for this reason we'll need more than one video to explain it all. We'll get the ball rolling here by running through the basic structure and rules of both zigzags and flats. Let's start with Elliott's zigzag wave. It has a 5-3-5 subwave structure. It's a three-wave correction, and it can contain diagonals, as we learned earlier when we were looking at diagonals. And it has two variations, which is a double and a treble 3. Now we'll look at that later on. For now we're just looking at the basics. So let's move on to our next slide. So here we can see the subwaves of a zigzag. I've drawn this as our impulse coming up. Don't be worrying about that, guys. That's just a squiggly line. None of these mean anything. We'll look at the relationship between corrections and impulses much later on. For now we're learning the ABCs. So this is A, B, C. This is our zigzag, A, B, C. And we look at the sub waves. This one's a 5. That's where we got our 5-3-5 from. 5 waves, 3 waves, 5 waves. And as we saw earlier, this can either be an impulse, which it is here, because 4 does not overlap 1. And then we have any 3. Often it's a zigzag. And then we have here another 5 wave, which gives us our C. And in this case I've drawn in a diagonal, because 4 breaks into the area of 1 there. 1 breaks into that. Okay, don't get caught too much up on that. Remember, we're doing just basics here, ABCs. So that is the basic breakdown, the subwave structure of a zigzag wave. Okay, so here we have our basic flat correction, and we'll look at the variations of it in a moment, but let's just run through our basic flat here. Here's our impulse coming up. Yet again, don't be worrying about the structure of it. It's just a squiggly line to indicate the impulse. So whenever A wave comes down, B wave comes back up to around about the start of our A wave. It can go slightly more, guys, and it can be slightly less. It's the general look of the thing we're looking at, guys. Don't get caught up in a few pips here and a few pips there. You'll know the difference between one and the other when we start looking at them in the charts. You'll see that they can, they can vary. This isn't exact science, guys. So generally speaking, it retraces the whole of A, and then you have a C wave that comes back down and generally breaks the low of A. So here we have it. It's a 3-3-5. That's 3 waves subwaves, sorry. 3 waves and a 5 wave. And remember earlier when we were talking about diagonals, we said that a diagonal can show up in a C wave of a flat correction, and that would be in there. So we have a 3-wave correction, A, B, C. Substructure is 3-3-5. Can contain a diagonal, as we said, in the C wave position. It can't contain it there or there, because those aren't 5-wave structures, substructures. And it has 2 variations, which we'll look at now, which is a expanding and a running flat correction. And there's a possible third variation. Now Elliott didn't identify this third variation, but there is a possibility that there's such a thing as a contracting flat correction. But we'll look at that much later on when we're looking at structure. So here we have our expanded flat. Yet again, it's a 3-3-5 because it's a flat. But this time B extends beyond the start of A. So it extends beyond the apex of our impulse wave. But whenever C comes in, it extends below the end of A. So we have this expanded structure, and if we put a couple of trend lines in there, you can see the structure that it takes. It's got this expanded form. Now, we spoke about this earlier when we were talking about impulses and how to count the waves. So here we have it. Wave A contains 3 subwaves, as we find in all flat corrections. Wave B extends above A, but it's 3 waves going up. If it was 5 waves going up, we wouldn't be looking at a correction, we would be looking at an impulse, which would tell us that the chances are that our trend's continuing. And then we have a C wave, which extends below the end of A, expanded flat. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Our final flat correction that we're going to look at today is a running flat. Yet again, it's 3, 3, 5, and this is rare. You'll not find a lot of these. But here's the structure of it. We have our 3 wave A coming down. We have a 3 wave B extending beyond the start of A, the apex of our impulse. But this time, instead of C coming down here beyond A, it stops here. So this is what we call a running flat, because basically price is still moving in an upward direction. But as I say, they're rare. More often we would get what you would call a running triangle, but we'll look at that later on. Okay guys, so that is our second variation of a flat correction. So we have a regular flat, an expanded flat, and a running flat, and later on we'll look at what we possibly have as a contracting flat. But don't worry about that, I'm only mentioning it because it may exist. Okay folks, that's probably enough information for one day. So we'll end it there, and we'll pick up the story again in the next video, where we'll look at triangles